China's X-band radar can create a national missile defense, underscoring the need for Trump's Iron Dome. In President-elect Donald Trump's now famous list of 20 core promises, number 8 states, "Prevent World War III, restore peace in Europe and in the Middle East, and build a great Iron Dome missile defense shield over our entire country, all made in America." But it's the Great Iron Dome missile defense shield over our entire country that could shift the nuclear balance of power, decreasing the coercive power of Chinese, Russian, and North Korean nuclear missiles and reducing the chances of World War III, as well as reviving the utility of nuclear reduction diplomacy. However, China, which has refused all U.S. attempts to engage in nuclear arms control, revealed a new large X-band radar during its Zhuhai Airshow on November 12-17. This radar could be the missing link in building a Chinese mid-course interception capability against intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs, which makes the construction of an American national missile defense that can also be extended to U.S. allies imperative. In the early 1960s, the United States, the former Soviet Union, and China were developing missile defenses, but only the Soviets managed to build a limited system around their capital, Moscow. In the 1980s, then-President Ronald Reagan sought to revive the dream of a national missile defense with his Strategic Defense Initiative, SDI. Reagan calculated that building effective defenses against nuclear-armed ballistic missiles would make their continued construction irrational beyond the negotiated balance of offensive and defensive missiles, which over time might then create confidence in lower numbers of nuclear missiles. Reagan's dream was never realized because of opposition from congressional liberals and a large U.S. arms control lobby that regarded an American national missile defense as an incitement for Russia and China to build ever more nuclear missiles. From the 1980s onward, Beijing vociferously opposed SDI and U.S. efforts to build missile defenses with allies, at times calling such a U.S. capability destabilizing and against China's security interests. For example, in October 2012, the United States deployed a large X-band radar to Japan, which could quickly track and target North Korean missiles aimed at Japan, but likely could also see into China and track its missiles. In October 2014, then Chinese Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Hua Chunying said at a press briefing, "Some countries have pushed forward anti-missile system deployment in the Asia-Pacific region to seek unilateral security, which runs against regional stability and mutual trust, as well as peace and stability in Northeast Asia." Unfortunately, much of the elite leadership that has set U.S. strategic defense policy bought the Chinese line that a significant U.S. missile defense capability would force China to increase its then relatively modest long-range nuclear weapons capability. While the United States has built a small, limited missile defense capability based in Alaska and Washington state to deter attack from North Korea's long-range nuclear missiles, there has been a constant in U.S. policy not to build a robust national missile defense to defend all Americans from Russian and Chinese nuclear missiles. In her October 2014 statement, Hua also used a now oft-repeated Chinese phrase concerning missile defenses. Relevant countries should not take their own security concerns as excuses for damaging others' security interests. This means that Beijing will not permit other countries to defend themselves if their military capabilities prevent China from gaining dominance over them. Of course, Beijing has never made any pledge to limit its nuclear missiles or missile defenses. China's strategic deception was well played and bought vital time. Since early 2021, the Chinese regime has been engaged in a massive nuclear breakout, building about 300 new ICBM silos in western China in addition to mobile ICBMs and new submarine-launched ballistic missiles for its growing fleet of nuclear submarines. By the mid-2030s, China could be nearing a nuclear force of 4,000–5,000 nuclear warheads, and now it appears that the regime is on the verge of strengthening its nuclear missile forces even more with a national missile defense system. Even though China publicly opposed SDI and many other U.S. missile defense initiatives, in 1960, Mao Zedong ordered his People's Liberation Army to develop large missile interceptors. His 640 program also included the development of large radar and anti-satellite weapons. Although Deng Xiaoping canceled the program, by the 1990s, China again invested in missile defense, purchasing Russian technology to help develop its HQ-9 family, which now boasts a range of 190 miles. China conducted at least 7 mid-course missile interception tests from 2010 to 2023, purchased long-range strategic defense radar technology from Russia, and even carried out strategic missile defense tabletop exercises with Russia. The X-band radar revealed at the Zhuhai Airshow last month, made by China's premier state-owned military company, the China Electronic Technology Group Corp., was likely used in previous mid-course missile interception tests, which proved that China could shoot down U.S. ICBMs and intercept satellites. A potential Chinese offensive nuclear force of thousands of nuclear warheads, perhaps coordinated with thousands of Russian and North Korean warheads, and defended by new Chinese missile defenses against U.S. ICBMs, would make the United States and its allies vulnerable to Chinese nuclear strikes and political nuclear blackmail. But a U.S. national missile defense, accompanied by an appropriate buildup of U.S. strategic and regional nuclear forces, all to balance Chinese and Russian nuclear offensive capabilities and their potential national missile defenses, could achieve the overall balance sought 4 decades ago by Reagan, which would begin to nullify the new nuclear arms race. With China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea rejecting all attempts to engage in nuclear weapons controls as they build up their nuclear arsenals, Trump's promise to create an Iron Dome missile defense is today imperative for national preservation. If done with appropriate speed, ignoring the political howls of hostile dictatorships and domestic critics alike, Trump's Iron Dome missile defense can also encourage another revival, making nuclear arms races futile again, perhaps preparing the way for an era of real, verifiable nuclear reduction agreements. China's arms trade, a threat to democracy and regional stability. The Chinese Communist Party, CCP, has condemned a $1 billion U.S. arms package for Taiwan, which includes advanced missile systems and radar to strengthen the island's ability to defend itself against China. Beijing accused the deal of violating its sovereignty, damaging U.S.-China relations, and endangering peace in the Taiwan Strait. China's foreign ministry vowed to take all necessary measures to defend its territorial claims over Taiwan. Meanwhile, as the United States supports the democratic and self-governing nation of Taiwan, China has become one of the world's largest arms exporters, frequently supplying weapons to sanctioned regimes in Africa and countries like Burma, Myanmar. China is now the world's 4th largest arms exporter, accounting for 5.8% of global arms sales between 2019 and 2023, according to the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, SIPRI. While this marks a significant shift, China still lags behind leaders like the United States and France. However, arms deals serve as a political tool for Beijing, not only for economic purposes, but also as a means to expand the CCP's geopolitical influence. This strategy, however, has raised global concerns for its role in supporting authoritarian regimes, fueling instability, and undermining democratic values. China has intensified its involvement in Africa in response to worsening security challenges such as terrorism, coups, and transnational threats, positioning itself as a key security partner alongside its economic influence. At the 2024 Forum on China-Africa Cooperation Summit, Beijing pledged $50 billion over 3 years, including $140 million for security initiatives to train 6,000 military personnel, 1,000 law enforcement officers, and 500 young African officers in China. This strategy, centered on military education, aims to promote Beijing's governance model and strengthen ties. Pakistan has become one of the largest recipients of Chinese weapons, particularly in the naval sector. It remains China's top buyer, with orders for 8 Hangar-class submarines, deliveries of which began in 2022 and will continue through 2028 with local assembly in Pakistan. Additionally, Pakistan received the Type 054AP frigates, the most advanced warships China has exported, under a 4-ship contract. These frigates showcase China's ability to produce cutting-edge multi-role naval platforms equipped with advanced missile systems and anti-submarine warfare capabilities. Other countries, including Malaysia and Thailand, have also purchased advanced naval platforms like frigates and littoral mission vessels. U.S. sanctions targeting Chinese firms aiding Pakistan's ballistic missile program have added pressure on Beijing. These sanctions, which complicate Pakistan's reliance on Chinese technology for its Shaheen-3 and Ababil missile systems, weaken its missile stockpile and bolster India's security, allowing New Delhi to focus on countering China. At the same time, these sanctions risk disrupting broader Sino-Pakistani defense cooperation, potentially pushing Pakistan closer to Beijing, an unintended consequence of U.S. efforts to curb the CCP's influence. By supporting Pakistan's missile program and supplying weapons to regimes in Burma and Africa, the CCP has escalated regional tensions and contributed to human rights abuses. For the United States, sanctions on Chinese defense firms serve as both a counter to Beijing's growing influence and an opportunity to reinforce its own commitment to democracy and global security. However, combined with quality concerns and political criticism, these actions could further slow China's arms export growth. China has intensified its involvement in Burma's conflict as resistance forces gain ground, threatening Beijing's strategic interests. Rebels now control over half of Burma, including critical trade routes along the China-Burma border. To protect key investments like the China-Burma pipeline and mining projects, Beijing has strengthened ties with the junta, supplying advanced weapons such as FTC-2000G fighter jets, which the regime has deployed in escalating airstrikes against ethnic minorities, causing significant civilian and military casualties. These actions have fueled anti-China sentiment within Burma, but also deepened Beijing's influence near India's eastern border. The CCP's strategic projects, including the Kyaukphyu Deep Sea Port and the Myitsone Dam, both part of its Belt and Road Initiative, also known as One Belt, One Road, enhance the Chinese regime's access to the Indian Ocean and complicate India's regional influence. Burma's instability threatens key Indian connectivity projects, such as the India-Myanmar-Thailand Trilateral Highway and the Caladan Multimodal Transit Transport Project, which are vital for developing India's northeast. In response, India has adopted a dual strategy, engaging with both the junta and ethnic groups to safeguard its interests. China's defense industry has modernized, leveraging affordable pricing and flexible financing to gain a competitive edge, yet it faces significant challenges. Persistent quality concerns and criticism over arms exports to regimes like Burma's junta and Sudan have tarnished its reputation. These issues, combined with intense global competition, have contributed to sluggish growth in China's arms sales. In 2023, 9 Chinese firms in SIPRI's top 100 generated $103 billion, 16% of total arms sales, with mixed performances. While companies like Aviation Industry Corporation of China and China State Shipbuilding Corporation posted revenue increases, others, including Norinco and China Aerospace Science and Technology Corporation, saw sharp declines due to delivery delays and quality issues. The United States remains firmly on top of the global arms market, while China struggles to compete with leading exporters. To counter China's arms sales growth, the United States has imposed sanctions on Chinese defense firms and threatened additional penalties should China export weapons to Ukraine. Restrictions have also been placed on China's access to advanced chips, essential for state-of-the-art weapons manufacturing. The incoming Trump administration is expected to intensify these measures, introducing more tariffs, sanctions, and restrictions. Such actions will likely further hinder China's efforts to dominate the arms sector and limit the CCP's use of military diplomacy to expand its influence